People think the worst thing that can happen to a marriage is that it breaks. At 94, I'm here to tell you something colder. Some marriages never break. They simply set. Like concrete poured too early on a rainy day. It hardens into shape, and then everyone spends the next 65 years walking around it, pretending that's what a home is supposed to feel like. I'm Henry. I designed buildings for a living, libraries, courthouses, corporate towers with lobbies so polished you could see your own face staring back at you. I made structures that impressed strangers, and for a long time I believed that if I kept the roof on, if I kept the lights on, if I kept the family intact, then I was doing the noble thing. But the truth, one of the brutal truths, is that monogamy was never a happiness promise. It's a survival contract. It's a system that helped children make it to adulthood. Nature didn't sign you up for fulfillment. Nature signed you up for continuity. Somewhere along the way, we turned that contract into a romance novel. We told ourselves, if we stay together long enough, we must be doing it right. As if time itself is proof of love. The clock in my hallway doesn't care if I'm proud or lonely. It just keeps going. I want to talk about what happens when two people stay for the kids, but they do it by becoming statues. Not loud statues, not dramatic ones, quiet ones. The kind that smile at school concerts and sit side by side at a restaurant booth, reading the menu like it's a legal document. The kind that never fight, because fighting would require admitting you still want something. That's where emotional bottling comes in. You push it down, you swallow it, you tell yourself you're being mature. But emotion doesn't disappear. It leaks. It leaks into the way you close a cabinet door a little too hard. It leaks into the silence on a Sunday morning when everyone can feel something wrong, but nobody is allowed to name it. It leaks into your children, because children don't learn love from speeches. They learn it the way they learn weather. They breathe it. And if the air is cold long enough, they grow up thinking cold is normal. I didn't know that when I was younger. Or maybe I knew, and I just didn't want to look. Grace was in that kitchen, my wife. If you've ever known a person who could make an ordinary room feel inhabited, really inhabited, you'll understand what I mean when I say she carried warmth the way other people carry perfume. You didn't have to ask. You could just tell. That night, I'd come home late from the office. There was a deadline. There was always a deadline. I set my briefcase down like I was dropping a sack of stones. I remember the exact sound it made on the floor. A dull thud, like something final. Grace slid a plate toward me. Her eyes did that thing they used to do, half patience, half hurt. "Henry," she said gently, "do you ever wonder if we're building the wrong kind of life?" I could have answered like a human being. I could have said, "Yes, I'm scared. I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to be present without feeling useless." But I was a man trained to win arguments with silence, so I did what I always did. I became efficient. I told her we were fine. I told her the house was paid for. I told her Thomas would never want for anything. I told her this was what responsibility looked like. Grace didn't yell. That's the part that should haunt a man. She just nodded slowly, like someone hearing a diagnosis. And then she said, almost to herself, "Sometimes I feel like I'm living next to you, not with you." Do you know what I did after that? I stared at my plate. I took a bite. I let the moment die of neglect. I told myself I was protecting the family. I told myself that staying no matter what, was love. But sometimes staying is not love. Sometimes it's fear wearing a respectable coat. That's the part people miss. When you bottle your life up, your kids don't get peace. They get a performance. They learn that intimacy is acting polite while feeling alone. And then, years later, you wonder why your son can't put his phone down, why he can't relax, why he looks like he's running from something he can't name. Thomas is 48 now, successful, sharp, always moving, always on. When he visits, he stands in this very living room and checks his smartphone like it's a heart monitor. Once I watched him pace near the rainy window while the grandfather clock ticked behind him. He was talking about a client, a merger, a crisis, always a crisis. I wanted to grab him by the shoulders and say, "Son, you're becoming me? Stop." Instead, I heard my own voice come out, calm, measured, useless. "Work's important." He glanced at me, and for a second I saw it in his face, that same old family habit of swallowing the truth because we didn't want to look messy. That's the paradox right there, sitting in my expensive, quiet house. We stay together to give our children stability, and we hand them a blueprint for stable unhappiness. We think the intact home is the gift, but children don't inherit houses, they inherit patterns. Now here's the third hard truth, and it's the one people resist the most. A lot of sacrifice isn't noble, it's ego. It's easier to say, "I had no choice because of the children," than to face the terrifying freedom of choice, the fact that there is a gap between what happens to you and what you do next. Choice is responsibility. Choice is risk. Choice means you might be judged. You might be called a failure. So we build a luxury cage, don't we? Gold bars made of social approval. They stayed together. They did the right thing. They made it work. And the door has a time lock. It opens only when you're old enough that you barely remember who you were before you stepped inside. I sit here now, wealthy in every way that can be counted, and I can tell you, a quiet house is not the same thing as a peaceful house. A long marriage is not the same thing as a living marriage. Two people can hold up a roof for decades and turn into pillars of salt, still standing, still there, but with all the empathy dissolved out of them. And the air inside that house becomes unbreathable, not with shouting, with absence. If you're watching this and you're still in the middle of it, still telling yourself you're staying for the kids, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to warn you, the way an old architect warns a young builder when the foundation looks fine but feels wrong underfoot. Ask yourself a simple question. Are you building a home or are you building a museum? A museum looks beautiful. It's orderly. It's intact. But nobody lives in it. Nobody laughs in it without echo. Children don't need perfection. They need truth. They need warmth. They need to see adults who can name their feelings without turning them into weapons. And if leaving isn't the right answer for you, then at least stop pretending. Stop bottling. Stop calling numbness stability. Learn to speak, clumsily, honestly, bravely, before your silence becomes your child's language. Because time will pass either way. The clock doesn't negotiate. I wasted years thinking endurance was the same as virtue. I thought providing was the same as loving. I thought intact meant good. I was wrong. So if you can do one thing today, one thing that makes the air in your home warmer, do it. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Tell the truth you've been smoothing over. Step toward your own voice. The door might be closer than you think. Take care of yourself.